Good evening, and welcome to the Sleeping Zoo, Facts to Fall Asleep to. The biological story of the giant panda begins not with a peaceful forest dweller, but with a radical departure from the laws of carnivore evolution. To understand this animal, one must first look past the iconic black and white coat and examine the skeletal framework that supports its unique existence. While most members of the order Carnivora possess a physiology optimized for the pursuit and consumption of high-calorie animal protein, the giant panda has undergone a series of dramatic structural shifts to accommodate a life built entirely on the fibrous stalks of bamboo. This transition is most evident in the skull, which is arguably one of the most specialized in the mammalian world. The panda's head is noticeably round, a shape necessitated by the massive zygomatic arches or cheekbones, which flare outward to create a cavernous space for the attachment of the temporalis muscles. These muscles are the primary drivers of the jaw, allowing the panda to exert a bite force that rivals that of much larger predators like the grizzly bear or even the lion. This immense power is not used for killing, but for the mechanical breakdown of the woody exterior of mature bamboo cones, a feat that requires consistent, high-pressure grinding. The teeth of the giant panda further illustrate this specialization. Unlike the sharp, shearing carnassials of a wolf, the panda's molars and premolars have become broad, flattened, and covered in complex cusps. These teeth act as millstones, pulverizing silica-rich plant matter into a digestible paste. Even the surface area of the individual teeth has increased over evolutionary time, providing a larger grinding platform to handle the sheer volume of material the animal must process. This dental architecture is the first line of defense in a digestive strategy that is essentially a race against time. Because the panda lacks the multi-chambered stomach of a ruminant, it must rely on mechanical mastication to expose as much of the plant's internal nutrients as possible before the material enters the gut. Perhaps the most famous of all panda adaptations is the so-called sixth thumb. From a strictly anatomical perspective, this is not a true digit, but an elongated radial sesamoid bone in the wrist. In most bears, this bone is a small, inconspicuous part of the joint, but in the giant panda, it has evolved into a robust, opposable structure. This pseudothumb is controlled by a set of specialized muscles that allow the panda to grasp individual bamboo stalks with incredible dexterity. This allows the animal to strip leaves and peel away the tough outer husks of shoots with the precision of a primatee. The development of this structure is a classic example of exaptation, where an existing bone is repurposed for a radically different function, providing the panda with the manual tools necessary to survive on a food source that most other animals find physically impossible to handle. However, the panda's external tools are only half of the equation. Internally, the animal faces a monumental biological hurdle. Despite eating plants for several million years, the giant panda's digestive system remains that of a carnivore. It possesses a short, simple stomach and a relatively short, small intestine, lacking the massive cecum found in horses or the complex forestomachs found in cows. These structures are usually where specialized bacteria break down cellulose and hemicellulose, making up the building blocks of plant cell walls. Because the panda cannot ferment these fibers efficiently, it can only extract about 20% of the nutrients from the bamboo it consumes. To compensate for this staggering inefficiency, the panda has adopted a strategy of extreme volume. In a single day, an adult panda may consume between 26 and 84 pounds of bamboo, depending on which part of the plant is in season. This creates a massive throughput of material, with the animal defecating up to 40 times a day to clear the way for more intake. This high-volume, low-efficiency diet has forced the panda into a unique metabolic corner. Research into their daily energy expenditure reveals that giant pandas burn significantly less energy than other mammals of their size. Their metabolic rate is roughly 38% of the expected value for a land mammal weighing over 200 pounds. This is comparable to the metabolic rate of a three-toed sloth. To achieve this, the panda's internal organs, specifically the brain, liver, and kidneys, are proportionately smaller than those of other bears, reducing the baseline caloric cost of simply staying alive. Additionally, their thyroid hormone levels are remarkably low, mirroring the physiological state of a hibernating black bear, yet the panda remains active year-round. This suppressed metabolism dictates every aspect of their behavior. They move slowly, they rarely engage in high-energy play outside of cubhood, and they spend the vast majority of their waking hours in a seated position, minimizing muscle exertion while they feed. The panda's behavior is a direct reflection of this energy-saving mandate. They are famously solitary creatures, a trait driven by the limited nutritional value of their environment. Bamboo may be abundant, but it is not nutrient-dense enough to support large groups of bears in a single area. Consequently, each panda requires a home range that it can call its own, though these ranges often overlap. To manage these social boundaries without resorting to energy-intensive physical combat, pandas have developed a sophisticated system of chemical communication. They possess large scent glands located under the tail, which they use to leave markers on trees, rocks, and the forest floor. These scent marks are complex chemical signatures that convey a wealth of information to other pandas, including the individual's identity, sex, age, and reproductive status. The act of scent, marking itself, is a highly specialized behavior. A panda will often perform a handstand against a tree to deposit its scent as high as possible. It is believed that the height of the mark serves as a visual and olfactory indicator of the bear's size and physical prowess, allowing individuals to assess potential rivals or mates from a distance. This chemical billboard system allows the panda to maintain a complex social structure while remaining physically isolated, preserving precious calories for the never-ending task of eating. This solitary life is only interrupted during the brief mating season, which occurs once a year between March and May. During this window, females are receptive for only 2 to 3 days, making the timing of these scent-based signals critical. Because females are so rarely in estrus, competition between males can become intense. While usually placid, males will engage in vocal battles and occasional physical skirmishes to win access to a female. These interactions are among the most energy-demanding periods of a panda's life. Once mating is successful, the male returns to his solitary range, leaving the female to manage the pregnancy and the eventual rearing of the cub entirely on her own. The reproductive biology of the giant panda is yet another area of extreme specialization and, in some ways, vulnerability. Like many other bear species, pandas undergo delayed implantation. After fertilization, the embryo does not immediately attach to the uterine wall, but instead floats freely for several months. This delay ensures that the cub is born during a time of year when environmental conditions are most favorable. However, it also means that the actual gestation period is quite short, often lasting only 6 to 8 weeks after implantation. As a result, panda cubs are born in an exceptionally underdeveloped state. They are hairless, blind, and weigh roughly 4 ounces, about 1/900th of their mother's weight. This is one of the smallest infant-to-mother ratios of any placental mammal. The vulnerability of the newborn cub necessitates an intense period of maternal care. For the first few weeks of the cub's life, the mother will not leave the den, even to eat or drink. She cradles the infant constantly, providing warmth and protection. Because the cub is so small and unable to regulate its own body temperature, even a brief lapse in maternal attention can be fatal. This period of total devotion is a significant physiological tax on the mother, who must rely on her own fat stores while producing milk. As the cub grows and begins to develop its characteristic black and white fur, the mother gradually resumes feeding, eventually teaching the cub how to navigate the complex world of the bamboo forest. The ecology of the panda is tied inextricably to the specific life cycles of bamboo. Pandas do not just eat any bamboo. They are highly selective based on the season and the nutritional content of different plant parts. In the spring, they focus on high-protein bamboo shoots, which are easier to digest and provide a much-needed boost after the lean winter months. As the shoots mature into woody stalks, the pandas shift their focus to the leaves, which contain higher concentrations of calcium and other minerals. This seasonal cycling is known as nutritional tracking. If a particular species of bamboo undergoes a mass flowering event where all the plants of that species die off simultaneously, the pandas must be able to migrate to a different area where another species is available. In a fragmented habitat, this natural cycle becomes a dangerous hurdle, as the paths to new food sources are often blocked by human infrastructure. Beyond the bamboo, the panda's habitat is a vertical world of extremes. They reside in the montane forests of southwestern China, primarily within the Sichuan, Gansu, and Shaanxi provinces. These forests are characterized by dense mist, high humidity, and steep, rugged terrain. The pandas typically occupy elevations between 5,000 and 10,000 feet. This high-altitude environment serves a dual purpose. It provides the cool temperatures that these thick-coated bears require, and it offers a natural refuge from the heat of the lowlands. The understory of these forests is dominated by the very bamboo that sustains them, creating a closed, private world where the panda's coloration, which seems so bold in a zoo, actually serves as a form of disruptive camouflage. The white patches help the bear blend into patches of snow and bright mist, while the black limbs and ears disappear into the deep shadows of the forest canopy. To truly understand the giant panda, one must look beyond the empirical data of biology and delve into the rich tapestry of human myth. In the mist-shrouded mountains of China, the panda has not always been seen through the lens of modern science. Rather, it has been a creature of legend. Imagine, if you will, the high peaks of the Wolong centuries ago. The local villagers tell a story of a time when the mountains were home to a race of bears that were as white as the winter snow. These bears were the companions of a young shepherdess, a girl of extraordinary courage, who tended her flock in the shadow of the peaks. One afternoon, as a young white cub wandered too far from its mother, a hungry leopard lunged from the crags. The shepherdess did not hesitate. She threw herself between the predator and the cub, striking the leopard with her staff. She saved the bear, but the leopard's claws found their mark, and the girl perished on the mountainside. The grief of the white bears was so profound that it echoed through the valleys. To honor the girl who had died for them, the bears journeyed to the high charred forests to gather black ash, which they rubbed onto their arms as a sign of mourning. As the funeral rites began, the bears could not contain their sorrow. They wept bitterly, wiping their eyes with their ash-covered paws, leaving dark circles of soot. When the other bears wailed in grief, the survivors covered their ears with their blackened paws to dampen the sound of the heartbreak. They reached around their bodies, hugging themselves in their loneliness, the black ash staining their shoulders and chests. When the ceremony was over, the ash would not wash away. It had become a part of them, a permanent uniform of mourning, a testament to the bond between the human spirit and the wild. This narrative reveals a deep-seated cultural connection between the people of the mountains and the bears, framing the panda not as a beast of prey, but as a sentient being capable of profound emotion and gratitude. However, Other legends paint a more formidable picture. In the ancient Shanhaijing, the panda is the baishao, the white beast of the supernatural realms. But it is the legend of the Iron Eater that truly captures the imagination. Centuries ago, mountain villagers would tell terrifying tales of a creature that would descend from the mists at night. They would hear the sound of grinding metal, a horrific, metallic crunching echoing from their kitchens. When they gathered their courage to look, they found not a ghost, but a massive, piebald bear sitting calmly in the embers of their hearths, gnawing on their brass cooking pots and iron tools, as if they were soft shoots of spring bamboo. This was the Me'el. It was believed that the Mo did not eat meat or plants, but sustained itself on the very essence of metal. Its teeth were said to be forged in the earth's core, capable of reducing a bronze shield to dust in seconds. This myth of the Iron Eater made the panda a creature of immense power. It was said that the legendary tribal leader Chi-Yu, a god of war with a head of bronze and a forehead of iron, chose the giant panda as his mount. Into the chaos of the great battle of Zhualu, Chi-Yu rode his Iron Eater, a beast that could not be pierced by arrows or broken by spears. Even today, when we see a panda effortlessly crushing a bamboo stalk that would require a machete for a human to break, we see the shadow of the Mao, the ancient war mount that ate the weapons of its enemies. Whether seen as a mourning companion or a metal-grinding warrior, the panda has always occupied a space of duality in the human mind. It is the living embodiment of yin and yang, the black and the white, the fierce bite and the gentle spirit, the creature of the earth that lives among the clouds. The panda's presence in Chinese history extends far back into formal texts, where it was often described in more mysterious, even formidable terms. In ancient manuscripts like the Shanhaijing, or the classic of mountains and seas, creatures resembling the giant panda are referred to as the baishao, or white beast. These texts often imbued the animal with supernatural qualities. During the Western Han dynasty, the panda was considered a creature of high status, so much so that the mother of Emperor Wen was said to have been buried with a panda skull in her tomb, a clear indication that even 2,000 years ago, the animal held a place of immense symbolic value, possibly associated with peace and the warding off of evil spirits. This is a startling contrast to the modern image of the lazy or clumsy panda, reminding us that for most of human history, this animal was respected as a powerful inhabitant of the high wilderness. As the centuries turned toward the modern era, the panda's role shifted from a creature of myth to a symbol of global conservation. The story of panda conservation is one of the most successful, yet complex, endeavors in environmental history. For much of the 20th century, the giant panda was the poster child for extinction. In the 1960s and 70s, as China's human population expanded and industrialization pushed further into the highlands, the panda's habitat was systematically fragmented. Roads, logging, and agriculture carved the continuous forest into isolated islands of green. This fragmentation was more than a loss of space. It was a genetic crisis. Small, isolated populations of pandas were unable to reach one another to mate, leading to inbreeding and a decline in the species' overall resilience. The turning point came with the realization that the panda could serve as an umbrella species. This conservation concept suggests that by protecting the habitat of a single, charismatic species with a large home range, you inadvertently protect thousands of other species, such as insects, birds, plants, and smaller mammals, that share that ecosystem. The Chinese government, in partnership with international organizations like the World Wildlife Fund, began a massive initiative to create protected corridors. These are essentially biological bridges of forest that connect isolated patches of bamboo, allowing pandas to migrate and find new mates. This effort culminated in the establishment of the Giant Panda National Park, a massive protected area spanning 3 provinces and covering nearly 10,000 square miles. This park is a feat of modern conservation, integrating local communities into the protection of the land and replacing logging and poaching with ecotourism and sustainable management. The result of these decades of work was realized in 2016, when the International Union for Conservation of Nature officially downgraded the panda status from endangered to vulnerable. While the threat is not gone, the trend has finally reversed. However, the panda's survival has also been tied to a unique geopolitical phenomenon known as panda diplomacy. This practice, which dates back to the Tang dynasty but was popularized in the 1970s, involves the Chinese government gifting or loaning pandas to foreign nations as a gesture of friendship and a tool of soft power. The most famous instance occurred in 1972, following President Richard Nixon's historic visit to China. Premier Zhou Enlai gifted 2 pandas, Ling Ling and H. Sing, to the United States. Their arrival at the National Zoo in Washington, D.C., sparked pandemania, with over 1 million people visiting them in the first year alone. This transformed the panda from a regional Chinese animal into a global celebrity. Today, pandas in foreign zoos are typically on loan, with the fees paid by those institutions going directly back into the conservation funds that support the Giant Panda National Park. This system has made the panda the most internationally recognized symbol of wildlife protection, a far cry from the Iron Eater of ancient mountain lore. In popular culture, the panda's image has become shorthand for innocence and peace. The World Wildlife Fund chose the panda as its logo in 1961, specifically because it was an animal that was both beautiful and endangered, and notably because its black and white colors made it easy and cheap to print in the media of the time. From the Kung Fu Panda films to countless children's books, the animal is often portrayed as a bamboo-eating monk, like a creature that has evolved past the need for violence, choosing a life of quiet contemplation and vegetarianism. While this is a romanticized view, it captures the essence of the panda's real-life strategy. A creature that has found a way to survive in a harsh, competitive world by carving out a niche that no one else wanted. As we look to the future, the giant panda remains a sentinel for the health of our planet. Its reliance on a single specific food source and a very narrow range of climate conditions makes it a canary in the coal mine for climate change. If the mountain mists dry up or the bamboo cycles are disrupted by rising temperatures, the panda will be the first to feel the impact. Our commitment to its survival is, in many ways, a commitment to the preservation of the delicate balance of the natural world itself. The panda's journey from a white bear in mourning for a shepherdess to a global ambassador for the earth is a testament to the power of a single species to capture the human imagination and inspire us to protect the wild places that remain. Thank you and good night.